Hello, hello, my friends. Good to see you all today. How are we doing? How y'all doing on this Saturday afternoon? What's going on, my people? Oh, I've got a much better intro coming as well. I'm paying for something nice to be put together with the logo and stuff. That's just something free I made off of Canva. But I really did want to add some graphics and things to kind of improve the situation here. I want to make sure I want to get some overlays, some outros, things like that. Just add a little bit of more professionalism to the situation as we're Muppeteers going legit. You know what I mean? Stuart, could we be one of the special clubs that makes him cheaper? Surely you'd like to think so. And if we do we actually go that high? So here's the thing, my guys. I do want to talk about. Yeah, I needed to turn the microphone off during the intro as well. I need to talk about the Šeško thing. I meant to talk about it like third because I wanted to get into some other stuff first. About the game, about Mbeumo, some stuff that's there. But we can talk about this price first, and then we'll get to the some of the other Šeško stuff later, because I actually did some analysis. And I was actually feeling more positive about Šeško as a player, to fit into this team, okay? Into what Ruben Amorim does. I was looking into that power forward thing as well. I was looking into, some of the situation around that, some of the details around it using year 23-24, because I do understand that people have said 24-25 they play differently. That's okay. I can get that. So I wanted to see. So I'm actually feeling a bit more positive on him about as a player, but
did you get along
some of the
with
stuff on
all
his
of
money
them
is crazy.
Paddock
Did you get along with all of them?
Whitwell,
Paddock guys and Whitwell, etc. Absolutely. The Paddock guys, Laurie, great guys, all of them. But yeah, look, here's the thing with that cost, Stuart. Even for special clubs, you're talking about, it said 80 million to 90 million euros, okay? 80 million to 90 million euros. Even for special clubs. Well, there's a range in that. So, when I speak, there's a buzz noise. Buzz noise. Hold on, let me open it on my phone. See if I can hear that. I tested it all earlier and it was fine. Yeah, I don't think it has anything to do with the special club thing, though. A buzz noise. No, the special clubs was 80 million to 90 million euros. You can go find it. Schwan, thank you for the donation. No buzz, the sound is fine. Okay, good. By the way, quick question. Before I left and when I went away, people said that my audio was better. That my audio was better than it was before. Smash the like button. Thank you, Araki. When I went away. Now that I've come back, is the audio good again? Like, is this good? Is it better than it was before? Yeah, I need to drop the hold on, let me edit the filters. Is it still good now that I've come back? Because people were telling me it was better. Let me turn this down a little. Let me turn the noise gate down a little bit. Let me see. Yep, it's still good. It sounds worse, no. Audio's very good. Okay, good. Because what happened was I plugged it into a different one. The buzz is there is probably a fan. Let me see. The buzz. A new buzz. Your audio felt better on the tour. People say it's perfect. It's distorting. But I just reduced the boost, so hopefully that helps. Hit me up if you need some professional slides. Thank you for that. If you go back to the bass is a little loud. Yeah, okay. It's almost too loud. 10 gifted from Stuart. Thank you so much for that. There's no buzz. It's fixed buzz. No buzz. Fixed buzz. You guys are confusing. How do some of you have it like cranked up like to the top? Oh, I'm gonna open it. I'm gonna open it on my phone. That's a very, very confusing. You guys are very confusing. I'm getting extremely mixed messages as per usual. I need like an audio expert. Hold on.
You guys are confusing. How do some of you have it like cranked up? Like
It sounds great to me.
I'm gonna open it on my phone.
Oh, I hear that buzz though.
You guys are very confusing. I'm getting extremely mixed messages.
Okay, hold on. I do hear the buzz. I do hear the buzz in the background. Hold on. I'm going to see if it got better now. It's like a slight hum under there. Yeah, it might be better now. I just unplugged something. Might be a little bit better now. I did hear it, but the audio itself sounds really good. So you could turn it down a little because I can kind of hear the buzz in the background. I did hear it. I did hear it. I did hear it. I did hear it. We could turn the bass down a little bit. We'll see if it's better now. It's good now? Better now? Okay. So what happened is this. I'm going to tell you exactly what it was. I put under. I'm using a laptop at home, and I put this thing that goes underneath my laptop. Okay, that runs an extra fan so that when I'm streaming, it doesn't overheat. But it was vibrating my desk, and so I couldn't hear it, but it was coming through the bottom of my thing here. That's what was happening. Figured it out. W, buzz fixed. Buzz fixed. Yeah, Fabrizio says 70 million to 80 million euros plus 5 to 10 million in add-ons. Okay, that's 75 million euros to 90 million euros for special clubs. That's still very expensive. That's still very, very expensive. That's up to 90 million. They offered 80 million. So that might just be too low. Depending on the structure of the deal, things like that might just be too low. So yeah, I don't think that this means necessarily that Newcastle aren't a special club. I think people are making assumptions. I think people are making assumptions here. On that being the reason, because they can't do basic math, to be quite honest. I don't think that's. I think people are making a quick assumptions on this and claiming to know things that they don't know. 80 million euros is below 90 million, and 90 million is the top end of this gentleman's agreement. So it very much depends on the structure. It does not mean that Newcastle were not a special club as viewed by Šeško. It doesn't mean that. We don't know that. We'll see, though. It's up in the air. But that price is insane. To me, that price is insane. I think that this is getting really complicated, honestly. I'm worried about this. I think we're in money land that is absurd. If we buy someone for 85 million to 90 million euros in a couple of years, if it doesn't work, we've just put ourselves in such a hole again. We have money. Right now we have money, okay? We have money. But this is how we end up not having money in the future, because you're talking about unreal prices for risky players. Well, it has nothing to do with you want Watkins. I've maintained the entire summer that I wouldn't pay for a young player this much. I wouldn't have paid 90 million. Let me go back and tell you another couple things about this. Ekitike was 95 million euros. Yes, he's better than Šeško, and he was rated higher by Šeško within the club. I can tell you that for certain, that Ekitike was rated higher than Šeško within the club. So if he's 95 million euros and we didn't want to approach that cost, why would we pay 90 million euros for someone that we rated differently? Why would we pay 90 million euros for someone that we rated less than that? That's my question. That's what doesn't make sense to me. That's the part that isn't totally adding up. Why would we buy someone we rate? That, to me, my concern is it would feel like we're compromising on our position in the market of paying values. We did try for Ekitike, but we did it late. Correct. And we rated him higher than Šeško quite significantly. if you're paying 90 million euros for Benjamin Šeško, 100%, I'd rather go get somebody else and go throw that money at Baliba or something like that. 100%. It's just, I'd just rather get a known quantity for that kind of money. I'd just rather get a known quantity at that money. It's not 80. It's more than 80. 80 million is too low. I don't know why people are saying 80 when 80 was just rejected. 80 million euros was just rejected. If 80 million euros was just rejected, it's above 80 million, okay? So I'm looking to the top end of that range of 85 to 90 million. $80 million should get you guaranteed 30 goals in this market. I agree. Look at what we paid for Cunha and Mbeumo. Like, this is where it doesn't make sense. You're saying that we should pay 85 to 90 million euros, 85 to 90 million euros in hopes that he can become as good as the guys we paid 60, 70 million euros for. I'm not buying it. I'm just not. I just don't get it. I don't get it. I'm not here for it. I just don't get it. I'm never going to get it. It did not get rejected because of a lack of sell-on clause. I don't know where people are reading this. Read. Here, I'm going to show you. Read. I think people are coping and then assuming that I'm coping, but I'm not. I'm just reading what it says. Look. Read this sentence. Newcastle United's 80 million euros bid for Benjamin Šeško has fallen short of Leipzig's valuation for the striker. It doesn't say that it's just missing the sell-on. It says the money's too low. Short of the valuation. It's too low. It's just too low. He didn't say it. I don't know where people are reading misaggregated stuff. People are reading misaggregated stuff and making assumptions. There's nothing in here that says that he prefers a move to us from Ornstein, the best reporter on this, as well as Sebastian Stafford, who is excellent. Where does it say it? You guys are, I'm sorry, but whoever is saying that it said this is making it up. Nowhere in this article does it say it's just missing the sell-on clause. It says they asked for a sell-on clause. It says the valuation is too low. Nobody said it's just missing the sell-on. It doesn't say it in the second paragraph. You guys are not. You guys are reading X and then saying Y. You guys are reading one thing and saying another. It doesn't say that it's just missing the sell-on clause. It says they asked for a sell-on clause. It doesn't say that a sell-on clause is in there, but it says specifically it's fallen short of their valuation. Valuation means the money. Valuation means the amount that they offered. You're assuming that it's just missing the sell-on. That's not what it says. It doesn't say it in the tweet either. It doesn't say it in the tweet either. I'm telling you. People are reading things. Yeah, they say it's insufficient. It doesn't say that it's just missing the sell-on. It says they rejected the offer. It doesn't say how much they want in add-ons. It doesn't say anything. People are interpreting words in a way that they want to interpret them that it doesn't say.
Gentlemen's Agreement
Club of Choice. But this is still not above the range. We don't know what they want. We don't know what they want.
The add-on not enough.
We don't know what they want. It's not semantics. Nowhere does it say it's just missing the sell-on clause. People are just adding that in. The add-ons might be too low. Nothing here says if they added a sell-on clause, it would be done. I don't know what people are reading on this. Where are you reading this? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills that nothing says. Nothing in this entire tweet says what people are insisting it says. Nothing. It says it's insufficient. That's all. That's it. They're renegotiating payment terms and add-ons, so they may want more in terms of add-ons. They just might want more money. Right? Check Keith Downey. Who's Keith Downey? Is he the Sky Sports guy for Newcastle for the Northeast? He says, RB Leipzig and Newcastle remain in talks. Leipzig haven't rejected, but also haven't accepted. They're negotiating on some of the payment terms. Talks continue over the structure. Šeško's open to both NUFC and MUFC and will make the decision in the coming days. His agent has traveled to Leipzig tonight for these talks with the German club. Okay. Doesn't really tell us much either, for what it's worth. But yeah. No, look, the reality of this situation is that we don't know what the structure of the add-ons is. We don't know what the structure of the payments is. We don't know why it's rejected. We don't know why it's rejected. You can keep repeating that they asked for add-ons and sell-ons all you want. That doesn't tell you why it's rejected. Like I said, the range of the special clubs still goes all the way up to 90 million euros. Okay, do you understand? I've read that tweet 60,000 times. It's 90 million. It goes between 75 million euros to 90 million euros, even for a special club. So this is low. And of course, that probably is going to factor in payment terms. It's probably going to factor in like what is the nature of the add-ons, all of that stuff. Okay. The base fee of 75 million euros is probably fine, but they might want 10 or 15 in terms of add-ons. Okay, we don't know. And a lot of people are just jumping after everything that happens to try and be first on something on this. Okay, that's it. We don't know. A lot of this is just waffle right now. And that's what's bothered me about this whole... What bothers me quite a lot about the reporting on all this, to be quite honest, is that a lot of it is just bullshit. A lot of people are just spewing stuff out every single day, claiming this, that, and the other, and they don't actually know. They're just saying things. And every time something new actually happens, then they just spin it around and say something new after that to try and twist it in some sort of direction and imply something else, what have you. The fact of the matter is, look, we did this at the start of the summer on Liam Delap. And every time something would come out, somebody would be like, well, that's why he's going to go to United. And that's why you're going to do this. And that's why he's going to do that. And in the end, he chose Chelsea, right? There was just assumption after assumption after assumption after assumption being made time and time again. A lot of it is just crap that is spewing out into the universe, okay? All that's actually happened, all right? And I was going to get to this later, and I'll just tell you as it stands as of today, because I've gotten so many questions. One, Benjamin Šeško has not yet given United some special indication that he's going to choose them. People are assuming it. From one side, because he hasn't accepted Newcastle yet, people on one side, and there's a lot more United reporters, are assuming that he's going to choose United, and Newcastle side are assuming that he's going to choose United because he hasn't accepted them. And we did that with Delap. With Delap, we did the same thing. Well, he hasn't accepted Chelsea, therefore he's going to accept United. He's just waiting for the end of the season. Not true, because if you look at it from the other side, he also hasn't accepted United. So he might choose Newcastle. He might choose to get a new contract at Leipzig. We don't even know. All of those things could happen. We have not been given any indication yet that he will choose us, but he is open to the offers and things like that, okay? Part of the reason United haven't bid as of this point in time, part of the reason why United haven't bid at this point in time is because they're wary of the complications
think
over this
United
deal
still tried
in
to
their
go for it or
dealings
move
with
on?
the player and agent in the past as well? Do you think United still tried to go for it and move on? They're still in discussions over it. They don't want to keep ending up bidding on things like the agent fees that factor into this, the personal terms, which are not agreed, by the way, and the significant potential costs on agent fees and wages has a factor into how the eventual cost of the overall deal will be, including the bid to Leipzig and the costs involved with that. United don't want to keep ending up bidding it up where they're ending up paying more wages, more agent fees, more wages, more agent fees on top of a payoff to Leipzig. The other complexity of the situation here is that United would hope to include player like Rasmus Højlund, potentially, because Leipzig would be asking for it, but they don't want to at the same time unsettle and mess up that whole situation where they would need Rasmus Højlund's approval to be included in an offer, because players are able to make the decision themselves and they would have to actually report it and approve it. They would actually have to be on board with it to make that kind of offer. And if you do that, you can't do that until you are sure that the player wants to come and that the offer would work. So you can tell them, look, all we need you to do is approve the move to Leipzig. We don't want you here anymore. They haven't done that. Okay? That's complicated. That complicates the situation. They haven't had that discussion yet. That complicates the situation in general. Overall, that complicates the situation. So there's a lot of that. And up to this moment, that hasn't changed. They're in talks with his representative and with him. They still have to agree personal terms. They still have to agree agent fees. They would still have to get certainty that he wants us and not Newcastle in order to try and include Højlund in this deal to get the cost into a range that would be more suitable for us, hopefully. And I think that that's a good reason not to walk away from the deal, because if you can include Højlund and it's even at 30 million euros and it drops the price down and it gets Højlund off the books, then it's worth it, even at a 90 million euros valuation. So on that front on it, I think it's okay to keep these talks going. If it's going to be a 90 million valuation, but we're getting 30 million for Rasmus and we're getting him off the books, I'm fine with that. So I'm not super overly negative on this deal. I think there's still ways that this is a good deal, but United can't even make that kind of offer until they're dead certain that this deal could even happen. So it's complicated, and a lot of people are trying to be first on saying he prefers this, he prefers that, he wants this, he wants that. It's just not there yet. It's just not there yet. And I'm not going to sit and say that it is there yet, because it's too much of that. It's too much. There's just too many briefings and too much crap going over and over and over on this. And that is riling people up right now. And the special club thing is kind of bullshit too. It's just, if he says, there's no clause, if he says, I like that project and I want to go, they'll accept between 75 million euros and 90 million euros. Okay? Well, we still don't know. We don't know that's why the Newcastle bid was rejected. It's just an assumption. Okay? It has a range. It has a range because it has a range. So 80 million might have just been too low. We don't know any of that. And it's just, it gets frustrating because there's too much crap on all of this. There's just too much crap being reported on all of this. If United are to get him, great. I think they've got a good plan in mind that could get there. But the bigger problem at the moment, and what bothers me about it, is that we actually don't know where he's going to prioritize the deal. We don't know. Okay? We don't know that. And it's a lot of guessing and a lot of hyping people up. Newcastle, what they're trying to do, why they bid right away, I understand that. I understand it. They're trying to force this decision because they're probably a bit annoyed by the fact that the decision hasn't clearly been made, in general, as of yet. That's the situation that we're facing here. Okay, he hasn't made his decision. Yeah, it is what it is. But look, like I said, there's just a lot of crap on this, right? It was like 2 days ago. 2 days ago, it was Newcastle are not gonna, Liverpool are not gonna bid again for Isak. Well, now they are again because people are just claiming exclusives left and right, trying to be first on everything, on every little negotiation tactic, and at some point it just gets irritating. That's all, because it's all just bullshit. It's all just bullshit. These things are moving around and changing rapidly, and the market is kind of insane, actually. However, what happens, him making decision, us coming to terms by next week, we can't afford to wait 4 weeks for the decision shenanigans. I agree. I said the same thing about Delap. I did not like how it was delayed. I did not like how it was being played out publicly, especially when my information was, which I was the only person to say it for weeks and weeks and weeks on end, was that he was going to Chelsea, and that's what we were going to do. It's just, this is why Arsenal walked away, because this got complicated as well for similar reasons. It's just whatever. It's like there's so much complications that go around the agents and go around the players on these things. I'm fine with letting United just continue working on it. I'm okay with that. But I think that what I don't want to do is have people say, is get people like all hot under the collar about different aspects of the deal. I'm fine. Let them work. I think the costs, if you're getting up to 90 million euros, gets kind of ridiculous, but I know United have some other ways to work on it. I'm 50-50. I think it's genuinely 50-50. And I think that people are trying to guess which way it's going to go so that they can claim something. It's genuinely 50-50. Like I said before this, I actually I was looking into this more and feeling good about the player. I'm not making it about the player, but anyway, it's just it's just an interesting thing. It's just anyway. There's too much crap. There's too much crap that's gone on. My blood pressure is good. I'm just passionate. I'm not even angry. I'm not angry at all, actually. So anyway, I wanted to get to it later, but I got to it now. We'll come back to it in a minute. Mbeumo is set to start play. He will be there on Sunday, which is good news. Oh yeah, let me do my poll, by the way. Big Bry Mbeumo set to finally play on Sunday as expected. So yeah, I was going to analyze the situation. I was going to talk about the issue, but I've already kind of done the issue, so we'll probably just skip by that. I'll look at the numbers on Šeško because I was actually feeling a lot better about the situation as a player. I'm quite intrigued, so we'll come back to that. Found some good data, and it was on the 23-24 season as well. But yes, please do like the stream. It helps me a lot. Mbeumo, finally, we're going to get to see him. Sad I didn't get to see him in Chicago and in New York, but getting to see him now on the watch-along we'll be doing on Sunday, of course, on this. But yes, Big Bry, he's ready to go. It's time to play. Very excited about that. We haven't even, what the crazy part is, we've seen all this positivity. We've seen all these improvements. We've seen all of this, things getting better in our performances and all of that. But we've still yet to see Mbeumo, who I think potentially is our most impactful player. We scored 6 goals in 2 games. That would have taken us 2 months last season. I know it's preseason, but still quite exciting. But yeah, it's really, really kind of I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued by just how much Mbeumo is going to help us. That's the crazy part about all of this. We're yet to see the guy that I think is the most impactful in this team. Both Newcastle and Manchester United should know that Leipzig are serious when they say Šeško could stay. They could end up selling Simons and Openda. That's sort of my point, by the way. This is sort of my point, by the way. Just one more thing. People will say, well, they rejected Newcastle, therefore he wants United. It could just as well be they're trying to get the highest price possible. Chelsea could buy Xavi Simons tomorrow, and then he signs a new contract with a big bonus. It wouldn't be the first time this has happened in football, and I think people are just right now just trying to predict rather than report, and I don't like that. I'm not a fan of that type of thing. If it's not clearly a prediction, I make predictions all the time, but I like to make them clear what it would be. So Mbeumo coming in is going to be great. What do you guys think now that the dust is settled a little bit? I want to share a tweet because I'm going to share something. I want to share a thing here that I looked at the other day. Because I want to share the little thread from Adam Crafton. I met Adam over in New York and Chicago briefly again while I was over there. Reporter from obviously The Athletic. And if you follow Adam, I mean, he probably wouldn't mind me saying, but that in my opinion, he tends to be a bit negative on United in general. But this is what he said. And I found it really interesting because obviously this kind of really matched a lot of what we've been hearing and talking about, right? He spent the week or in the summer series following United. This part here, very struck by the consistency of message and apparent unity coming out of the dressing room. Those Amram does still have on board do sincerely appear to want to be there and like him personally. Players have been pretty frank about prior underperformance and culture issues. Encouraged by the performances, greater understanding of what's being asked. He says we should be getting into the top 5. Now, I would actually tend to agree. I think we should be pushing to the top 5. I actually agree with that. We've got good-ass players, frankly. I think we've got some really good players. Some concerns. It's all fine on that front. Worry about the goalkeeper. I agree with him entirely here. My biggest concern is that we're not addressing the goalkeeper thing. I think we've missed the boat on that. Because we've looked at it. We knew we wanted to get one. We've gone back and forth on getting one, and it seems to have slipped down to priority now. We did try to get Emi Martinez's on loan. Maybe if there was some way to loan in Donnarumma, we're still open to the possibility of that. But yeah, I'm still a bit worried. He does seem to understand how the striker is so key to the system as well. So I actually agreed with almost this entire thread on what he was saying here. And, the same kind of concerns we have on some of this. This here, the Amram Barada Wilcox nexus seems pretty tight. They team tied to another success. Could be rocket fuel, but potentially perilous interdependency if things do not improve. I actually completely agree with this as well. I spoke about this the other day about the point where they're all so aligned. If it doesn't work, you have to sack everybody. That's part of the problem. It's the first time we've had this much alignment and agreement on so many things, but if it doesn't work out, you got to remove all of them. You can't say, well, it was just Amram. Look, if this doesn't work, they're all just as equally complicit in it. You can't put it all on Amram. You have to put it on Wilcox. You have to put it on Omar, because they've all done a lot together to bring things to where we are today. And I think it's going to work. I'm really positive about it. I think we're seeing the signs and we're on the route. But if it doesn't work, they've all got to go. That's that to a degree, there's a genuine thought about this. This is Adam Crafton, works for The Athletic, very, very well-connected journalist over there as well. Has reported on a lot of United stuff, stationed in the U.S. these days. So, he's more optimistic. And he thinks it'll be an outcome of extremes. They'll surprise people very positively or head even deeper. I tend to agree with this. I really do. I agree with this. I actually like almost fully agree with the entire thing. And I can't go against that. I think it's going to work, but I do actually completely understand where he's coming from on all of that. And the fact that he's more positive and sees all of that, I think is a clear sign, you know? Yeah, Omar pushed for Ruben in the first place, have pushed, you know, all this stuff on moving the players out, on bringing Ruben in early. They're all complicit, hopefully in success. It'd be better to be complicit in success than failure. So, hopefully. You still think that not getting a goalkeeper makes the window a failure? Yeah, I've got the same concerns. Don't get me wrong. I've got the same concerns. I saw the Mbeumo post here up close. Are you still happy? Listen, it was noticeable in person when he was standing there. It's in some of the videos, by the way. You could catch it. When he's standing there, yeah, he does not disappoint. Mbeumo in person does not disappoint. He does not disappoint. He looks strong. He looks damn strong. So, yeah, he looks really strong. But yes, I want to talk about Sunday's 11. All right, I want to talk about Sunday's 11, and I want to talk about. Do you guys want to? I want to talk about what we should run out. Now we've seen a couple of different. We didn't get to see Cunha. I think we're gonna see more of like the first 11. But I want to do a big. I know what people want in the team. I know what people want in the team in general. But here's what I want to pull. Okay. Here's what I want to pull. Højlund at striker, or with Bruno Ugarte mid, or because we haven't seen that yet. I'm a little worried about that. Højlund at striker with Cunha and Mbeumo, with Bruno and Ugarte in the mid, or do you want to see still Ugarte Menu with Bruno, Cunha, and Mbeumo in some kind of front three? So let's do it like Højlund versus Kabi, essentially, is kind of what it boils down to. Which of these? Højlund at striker with Bruno and Ugarte in the midfield, Cunha and Mbeumo, or Ugarte Menu with Bruno, Cunha, and Mbeumo, some combination of those three. I'm torn. I'm genuinely torn. Because like I prefer the Ugarte Menu midfield. But I think we're going to be a much better team. We're going to get a striker, guys. So why keep practicing what we're not going to do in the season? That's my worry. Why keep doing what we're not going to do when the season starts? Well, if I said Šeško, people would pick Šeško. I'm certain of that. Hold on one second. My main concern is if we keep my main concern is we haven't seen Ugarte Bruno yet. When we get a striker, we gonna have Bruno deep. We can't play him with Casemiro, and we've yet to see him with Ugarte or Menu in the preseason. We need to see Bruno partnered with somebody else in that midfield because we're gonna see it when the season starts. We've got to see it, and we've got to try something without Casemiro with Bruno. We have to, and I'm really worried that we haven't yet. I think this is an area where I think that one is gonna cut us down. You're gonna see Ugarte Bruno tomorrow. I kind of suspect I will. Simics, I kind of suspect we will. And I hope we will, Personally, I'm leaning towards that. I want to see Bruno Ugarte and keep Hoyland up front so we can see the play, things play out correctly. I want to see the right things here. I want to see what we look like with a striker, because we're getting a striker. Like, one way or another, guys, we're getting a striker. We're going to get one. Of all the main guys in the team to start through the summer tour, the only player I haven't been impressed with is Casemiro. I've been really unimpressed, unfortunately. In person, it's not the tactics, Brock. It's the fact that Casemiro, he's just off the pace. I haven't seen anything to suggest that he can keep up with the game. I just think it's too late. I just think it's too late. He's been bad. Like, I've seen good performances from practically everybody but not Casemiro, and it worries me. And the part of it is it's not just like getting off to a slow start. It's about he goes into these crazy lazy, slide tackles early, diving into the ground too early, things like that. Like, I've seen nothing to represent that we've improved, that he's going to help cover the ground quicker. Everybody else improved so much. Like, you got to realize, right, that tactically, the 10s dropping is supporting the midfield so we can carry a bit more, but I just don't see what he's bringing to the table compared to everybody else. Like, I've been more impressed with Mason Mount over preseason than Casemiro at this point in time. Like, Mason Mount had a damn good game against Bournemouth for my money. I think he did quite well in the end. Yeah, and I get it. It's his last season. Like, I'm not digging into him. I think it's literally a matter of his legs not keeping up with the speed that everybody else is. Yeah, Mount and Dorgu looked amazing together. I can't say enough positive things about Patrick Dorgu. I got to interview Patrick Dorgu twice. Okay, I got to interview Patrick Dorgu twice. Well, I did like I've got to ask him 2 questions as a part of the interview myself. He comes across really nice. I just really like Patrick Dorgu, and what he's doing on the pitch, I think we're starting to see it. I had a lot of faith in Patrick Dorgu when we signed him. I think he improved over the course of the season, and I think you could see what he brings to the table. But god damn, he looks good. He could be the best left back in the league. He could be the best wing back in the league. And I mean that quite seriously. He's so fast. He's so physical. He's such a pain in the ass to deal with. All of that. Mount was terrible the first game, but against Bournemouth, he was very good. But Dorgu has been... he could be insane. Insane. Romano said he could leave for 70 to 80 million plus add-ons, guys. When I'm saying 90, I'm not saying 90 million base. I'm saying a 90 million total package, okay? He said 70 to 80 plus 5 to 10. That's between 75 and 90 million. So when I say 90 million at the top end, I'm talking about the total package of the deal, okay? Just to be clear. Just to be clear on that, why I said that. All right, so you guys would prefer this. Okay, fair enough. I can't, disagree. So let's say who would we put up front? Because we need that runner. Let's say we're gonna put Cunha up front. All right. He might be the most natural fit for it. He's still got some size. Let's say we run this out again. Okay. This is what you guys want to see. I think. This is. I would. I don't. We'll see. Anyway. I think those who've held Dorgu and Ugarte stocks will see huge returns this season. I agree. Don't I agree? I agree. And then we'll see, maybe we'll see Delict again in the middle, because Maguire still kind of has that issue, you know. But I've been happy with Delict this preseason now. After the first game, I think he's been getting better and better. I think we'll see Bayindir again too, frankly. I think this is probably close to what we'll see. We'll all, you know, because some of these players didn't really get a ton of minutes. I don't think Mbeumo's. I don't know. There's something I don't like about the idea of Mbeumo at striker, and the reason I want to say Cunha is that very specifically, by the way, Ruben Amorim said very specifically that Cunha has flexible positioning in his press conference at the start of the week. So I'm just making a guess that he sees him as a little bit more flexible than in particular, because he said it. Okay, I'm saying that because it was his own words. He said that Cunha's flexible positionally. So that's why I've done that, because his own words were that Cunha is flexible positionally. So I'm considering that Cunha would be the striker in that case, because he's the one who's flexible. I don't know. It's just what he said. It could be either or. It doesn't really matter to me. Yeah, I understand. Everybody said they can play the 9. Everybody can play the 9 technically. It could be either or. It could be fluid. It doesn't particularly matter. Remember that positionally, it doesn't matter. If you remember my tactical video that I did, which we immediately saw in preseason, what did I say was going to happen? I said the 10s are going to drop in and make a 4-man midfield, okay? And that the wingbacks were going to push way up. And that is exactly what we've seen. The wingbacks getting high up the pitch, the 10s dropping in to make a 4-man midfield, and suddenly our midfield isn't overloaded. Suddenly our midfield is dominating against each team we're playing against. Suddenly we can progress the ball through the 10s. Suddenly all of that's happening, okay? So, you know, this is anyway, I think we'll see something like this, and I hope we can keep that kind of progress up. But I am amused. All the chaos, all the panic tactically, and it's all pretty damn quiet over the preseason when the team actually looks like what an Amorim team has always looked like. And that's why I've always been frustrated with so much negativity about the tactics that Amorim's put together. We have to carry that into the Premier League, no doubt about it. But it's so funny. I said all year, this is an Amorim. This is an Amorim setup. This is an Amorim setup. This is an Amorim setup. It's a 4-man midfield. The 10s have to drop into the midfield. The 10s have to drop in the midfield. The 10s have, and obviously, yes, one's going to be, it's not going to be exactly like this. One's going to be a little deeper. One's going to go and it might make sort of a box shape. You know what I mean? It's always like that. That's what it's always been. I just put them on the same level because it alternates and it changes. And I said, this is what it's going to look like. And everybody's suddenly like, oh, yeah, we're doing this with the midfield. Wow, what an adjustment in tactics. No, it's not an adjustment in tactics. This is why I said you got to watch Sporting in Portugal to understand the way that Ruben Amorim plays before going crazy with the criticism. The players were not doing what they wanted to do. This whole thing breaks because our left 10 was constantly running deep into there and the striker wasn't doing anything. So, you know, it was always about personnel, having the personnel to do it. And I said, when we get Cunha in, he's going to change the way we play football. He's going to change the way we play football because he's going to drop in. And we saw that in his first 2 games as well, that he drops in and makes that extra midfield, and that the wingbacks are not defenders, they're attackers, they're wingers. Well, Dorgu's played as much like a winger as anybody else in football. He's out wide, he's attacking, he's taking his man on, he's dribbling players, he's doing it all, man. My hope is with Mbeumo that we'll get Ahmad a little more involved. Xerxes should be back in training here with as well as Onana, like now or today. He should be back in training. But yeah. But look, no, I personally, I agree that in this game, I would prefer to buy these players and put them here. And I need to see this with a striker. I need to see this with a striker because I think this is potentially our best team. And then when you throw a striker in that we buy here, then I think this is our best team. This is an insanely talented squad. I mean, youth. I just want to point out, just let's say we get Šeško over the line in the end, which is still ultimately quite possible. But let's say we do this. This is an unbelievably talented team. Like, it has such a matching of profiles in here that all work together. Unbelievably talented. I would have extreme positivity about just the amount of goal scoring, dueling and winning that goes on with these players. It's spectacular. So many goals, so much productivity in that team up here. So anyway, I'm kind of excited about that. What does Šeško do that Xerxes can't? We'll get to that, actually. I do want to analyze it because people think I just don't like Šeško, but that's not the case. So anyway, I'm real excited. Tactics, we're finally starting to see what we needed to see. Do you think we get top 5 with that? Yes, I do. I think a striker brings us to top 5. I think we're going to do that really good. And yes, I'll be back to the watch-alongs tomorrow, okay? Because they have insane physical tools, that attacking unit. Dorgu, Cunha, Mbeumo, Šeško, Ahmad, Bruno. Who can keep up? Who can keep up with that? Nobody. I think it's one of the better front sixes in football when you look at the talent of it. So we've needed that. We've needed serious attacking talent for a long time as well. So, yes. So let's look at Šeško. And we're gonna run on back to our power forwards thing here. Okay, we're gonna head back to power forwards, our old reliable article that we looked at in the past, and we're gonna look at Benjamin Šeško because because he's on here, by the way, and it's for season 23-24. And I said that profile wise, I thought, hey, I want to see the same kind of profiles being targeted across the board. Well, if we take a look here, you can see that off to the right is Openda. This is, well, hold on. Let me start from the top. First of all, Benjamin Šeško clocked in at the 3rd fastest sprint velocity in the Bundesliga in that season. Obviously, right below Openda and Marmoush, but a significant speed. So he's fast as hell, all right? Let's take that from him. He's fast as hell, okay? He's in there. Then let's head down to the striker runs do fast playmakers make. Now, percentage of strikers runs is runs in behind. This is what Ruben Amorim wants from his striker. And then sprint velocity, okay? So when we look at Šeško in here, he falls pretty close to Nicholas Jackson on this chart, obviously. So a pretty high percentage of his runs come in as runs in behind. Not far off Darwin Núñez, Osimhen, Jackson, Gyökeres over here. Maybe a few percentage points lower, but still with the speed that he has and the number of runs, it's still good. It's still good. So quick peak speed, high proportion of runs in behind. Okay, so you look at his percentage. He's in the high end here. Okay. This is percentage of striker runs. So he's in the 80th percentile, okay? 79.6 percentile for explosive accelerations to sprint. So he sprints, he's fast. His percentage of strikers of runs in behind is not low. It's not as high as others, but it's not low either, okay? So it's in a good number. So far looking good. All right, then we move down to this one. This is where at first I was like really concerned, okay? Because you look at this and you go, this is what kind of concerns me, is that runs in behind received per match. Gyökeres, Watkins, percentage leading to a shot. Jackson, Núñez. So then I'm looking at this and saying, but what does this mean? Okay, what does this mean? Runs in behind perceived, he's quite low. What that means in general is that he's not receiving the ball when he's making those runs in behind in the Bundesliga. In fact, he's receiving the ball when he's making those runs once per game when he plays for Leipzig. So obviously this kind of tells you that they're not playing to the strengths of him as a runner. Instead, Openda is receiving the ball. So this seems like it's more of a stylistic issue. When they're making runs in behind, this is not last season, by the way. This is the season before. Even then, he's just not receiving the ball much. Okay? And Openda is the one receiving all of the passes. So obviously, I prefer, Watkins, these guys, because they're in the system, already doing it, already receiving that ball, that. So it may be a little bit of an easier transition. This doesn't mean he's not making the runs. It means that he's not getting the ball. However, where he is rated really highly is when he does receive the ball. When he does receive the ball, he is turning them into shots at a high rate, at a rate close to some of these guys. So when he does get it, he's turning them into shots. He's just not getting it enough. So yeah, I would say there's a definite argument here in looking at this overall that he's got the speed, he makes the explosive runs, maybe needs to make a few more of them, but he can, obviously, but he's just not getting the ball in those situations. So one could take that and suggest that if he was playing for a manager where that ball is coming into him, that he will fit the archetype of this power forward because he's got the speed, the explosiveness, the acceleration, and he does make the runs. So I would say, yeah, there's an argument there that he could do a lot better if the pass was coming to him, and that the biggest limiting factor he has is that the pass isn't making its way to him, more than the fact of whether he could play. Now, at the same time, because Openda's in the same team making those runs and getting that, and again, I'm not talking about last season, I'm talking about the season before, the argument could be made, is he making worse runs than Openda? Or is he dragging the defense? It's an unknown. So there still carries risk with it, simply because there's just too many unknowns, involved in this situation. But it does help me feel a bit more positive that when he's getting the ball, he's turning them into shots. But, does that translate? Can he make good runs and get them in behind? Isn't that the same as Højlund? Yes and no. However, here's the difference with Højlund, okay? Højlund is playing, and he played last season, in the system where he should be receiving the ball in behind. Because it's the whole point. Højlund is already in a system that should be platforming him, and he's not receiving the ball in behind, but he's not making the runs. Šeško's apparently making the runs, but not receiving it. Højlund's not making the runs, so he's not receiving many. He's not even making the runs. He's not showing up as a guy who's making those kind of runs constantly. So that's the difference between the two of them. He's got to make the runs in order to... What? He's got to make the runs in order to receive it. And yes, he's very fast. He's very fast. So Højlund not making the runs, Šeško kind of making the runs, neither receiving it much. Now, is it because the runs are bad, or is it just because he's not getting the ball in that case and Openda makes better runs? We just don't know. It's a bit of an unknown, but I wouldn't say it's the same as Højlund, because at least Šeško makes the runs and he's fast. So I see the potential in there. But I'm not totally certain. how it's going to play out. That's all I'm saying. So yeah. Cool. All right. So we don't. So maybe he's capable. Maybe he's capable. I'm talking about his first season. That whole analysis is based on his first season, by the way. So even in that season, he wasn't receiving the ball that much. Again, I'm not talking about last season. I'm talking about the first season that everybody was talking about. He was doing good on his run volume, but he was not receiving it. Again, I'm talking about the first season when he was supposedly being platformed a bit better. There is reason to be a little concerned, and there's reason to be a little bit positive about it. That was based on 23-24, not 24-25. Even when he was making the runs in 23-24, he was not receiving it. Why was he not receiving the ball? That is a question. That can be because the runs are bad. I don't know. But Openda was doing significantly better than him in 23-24. So, yeah, it's a two-striker formation. But again, that leads to the same concerns. While there's positives to the analysis, there's concerns to the analysis, which is that he's not the guy that is doing the deeper runs, that is making the quicker runs, that is making those runs. He's not been playing in a system ever where he's making a lot of runs in behind and receiving the ball. He's just not. That's a fact. He's never played in a team where he's making runs in behind and receiving it at a high volume. That's just a fact. Okay? But he has the tools to do it. He does make the runs. Are they good runs? He does have the sprint speed, but are they done at the right time? Is he running into the right spaces? Is he capable of doing that? Or was he doing it as a distraction? We just don't know. Yeah, and Samix, I can see that, but I'm wondering about the first season. The first season, was Openda the right, was it simply because, Openda was better at making the runs that he was the one receiving the ball into those spaces and scoring a lot of goals? Because his stats were really good. You have to bear in mind when people are saying that the other season was better, well, I mean, so were Openda's, for what it's worth. Like, Openda's, I'll show you. Look. Openda scored 24 goals that season. So is it not possible that Openda is just better than Šeško? And that's why he, that season he was receiving the ball more and scoring more goals simply because he was better? He scored 24 goals. That's my concern. It's a possibility that they were both doing the right thing. Openda's just better at it. And that Šeško's just not that good. I'm just saying, there's potential. He's only 23 years old. There's potential that Openda's just a better player than him. I just have those concerns, that Openda's just a better player than Šeško. Because he was making the runs and receiving the ball and scoring goals. So I can go back and forth on it all day. I don't know. I frankly don't know. I felt better about it in looking at the factor that he's got the potential. Like I say, the physical tools, the running, all of that kind of stuff. He's got it. Are his runs any good? Are his runs actually any good? Or are they bad and Openda's run and positioning was better? Or is it purely a team issue? But either way, you've got to have a little bit of doubt that he's just never done it. He's just never done what... He's just never done it. That's all I'm saying. And you can say, well, he's a world-class talent and Openda isn't. Okay, but Openda's did better than him at the same age. So well, not the same age, but a similar age. I mean, 22, 23 is not that different. So... I just don't like those arguments. I don't like those arguments. Openda might be better. Openda scored 24 goals at the age of 23. Scored 21 goals the year before. Openda's a more productive player than Šeško at the same age. He's been more productive in his career at the same age. And then he joined Leipzig and he was more productive at the same age. And he makes the runs the way that we would want. So how can you say Šeško's a lone striker when he's playing in a 2? Right, I get that. Šeško was the guy coming in short to receive with his back to goal while Openda was the longer running the channel at the same time. What I'm asking is, why was that decision made? Was that decision made because the year before, Openda was just much better at making those runs? Like, to me, we can say that stylistic, like, again, this is a bit of a chicken or the egg. If they were asking Šeško to come short and Openda to run, doesn't that mean they believe Openda's better at running the channels and being that striker than Šeško is? Isn't that literally why they would make that decision? Otherwise, it'd be the other way around. Otherwise, they wouldn't have made that decision. So, based on the numbers, I tend towards the same analysis. Openda's better at running the channels. Openda's better at doing the things we would want out of a striker. So, and it shows. And it shows that, right? These things show. And I think that my concern is people making a lot of assumptions that it's one or the other. And saying Openda's crap is like, okay, whatever, fine. He scored 18 goals at 21 at Vitesse, 21 goals at Lens in France, and then 24 goals at Leipzig. He's been a super productive player for 3 years. So I don't know. Maybe it's because either way, Openda's the better channel runner. It's just a fact. He was better 2 years ago too. He's just a better channel runner. So we don't know if Šeško can do it as a lone striker in the way that we want. You know? Decision made the finish. Yeah, but the prior season, Openda did way better. So, like, I think people are ignoring the fact that Openda doubled his productivity in the year before also. Right? He doubled his productivity the year before also. So, even when they were good, they finished 4th, Openda doubled his productivity. So, no matter what way you cut it, Openda's probably the better striker than Šeško. So, you know, I don't know. It's confusing. It's difficult. It's not that simple. But yeah, I don't know. It's a bit weird. It's just, there's some oddities. There's reasons to be positive and there's reasons to be concerned. It's hard to analyze it. You can keep saying he's the more well-rounded player, but I'm taking 24 goals over 13, so I don't know. That's all. People can just keep asserting that he's the better player, but 24 goals is better than 13. I mean, 20 goal season 3 years in a row is better than 13 2 seasons in a row. But he's short, Openda. He probably wouldn't fit us in that respect because we need a taller striker. Yeah, it is hard to say. It's hard to say. Yeah, it's hard to say, Samik. I totally agree. It's hard to say. It's not ignoring the context. It's not. Unfortunately, it's not. There is a lot of context. Like I said, when I looked through the season that they were supposedly quite good, Openda was the one getting on the end of those balls into the channel and turning them into goals, not Šeško. I have concerns with that because I would have hoped that the guy we would pay up to 90 million euros for was already doing what we need him to do. And he's not. He might be able to. He has the tools to do so, but that's the question. If Openda's already the finished product, then we should buy him, not Sesko, because he's only 24 years old. So it's not like he's some old player that we shouldn't do. I don't agree with that part of it. So yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I have my, like I said, I've always had my doubts on it, and that's okay. I go back and forth. There's good things and there's bad things. There's positives and there's negatives. there's you know, there's all sorts of shit like that. Nobody actually knows, unfortunately, at the end of the day. So I guess we'll find out if we sign him. I think he could be the guy. I think, like I said, that he could have the tools for it. I'm just not sure if he's actually good at it. That's what I'm concerned about. Is he good at running the channels? Yeah, I know that, Samix, and the thing is like, that's not how it works. I like to give my opinion, too. I gave my opinion on Anthony when I said that, and people, like, I've given my opinion on, I've been negative on, I've been concerned about multiple signings that haven't worked. I've been concerned about signings that, I don't actually think I've been concerned about signings that have worked. I've been positive on signings that maybe haven't worked. It's just an opinion. But I think one of the things that happens is that there are people who mix around, and there's a lot of people who overhype every single signing right off the bat, and then they get really disappointed when it doesn't work, like Xerxes. People thought Xerxes was going to be the best striker on earth, and then they said he was absolutely shit the minute we signed him, and after a few difficult games. That's why I like to balance the topic and actually add in potential negativity in this, because the fact is there are reasons to be concerned. If we sign Benjamin Šeško and it doesn't work out right away, people are going to turn on him. I'm not actually going to turn on him because I know what he might be good at, what he might be bad at. I can look at that objectively and say what I expect he might struggle with, where he might need to improve. And in that way, I will give him time to improve those types of things. Same as I did with Xerxes. And the same as I do with Ugarte, and the same as I do with other players, same as I do with De Ligt. If De Ligt can improve in his passing and his speed of action, things like that, I think he'll be good. I had these exact doubts about De Ligt when we signed him, that in terms of on the ball, he's a bit slow. So I can critique, but that means that I don't turn on a player right away. And I think that people should be able to critique a player, because otherwise they'll be disappointed when they come in and that player is shit for the first week or so, you know what I mean? Or the first few months, and they struggle with the things that you would expect them to struggle with. And some people aren't ready for that. And I think it leads them to being more negative than they should be. So, yeah. I think that this is how you can be balanced, you know what I mean? Is if you know what's wrong, what they might not be good at, then at least you can expect that. So, anyway, no, a lot of people hyped Xerxes. I remember that. Before we bought him, people were saying he's the next big thing. We have to get Xerxes. It's the same as they did with Antony, and then people pretend they didn't. People were calling Antony the next Neymar. I said at one point, I remember very specifically getting absolutely cooked for this when I said he's a 30 million pound player. And people said, "Are you insane? You're nuts. He's an incredible footballer. He's so talented." And they're not able to see the problem. I said he's probably good, but he's a low efficiency player. He's playing it in the Eredivisie. He gets to spam a lot of crosses and a lot of things with high possession. It probably won't translate to the Premier League that well. It's a low efficiency. People weren't able to see that, and as such, they got overrated. They overrated the situation. I'd really rather go for a cheaper veteran option and push for Baliba now with this Šeško plus new sales money rather than go for him next summer facing fiercer competition. Good point. I would tend to agree with you personally. You think Šeško's a better fit for Newcastle or Man U? I think Newcastle he's a better fit for personally, because I think Watkins is a better fit for us. Like I've said many times, that's just my opinion now. But yeah, look, the issue with Šeško is, again, I'm just going to repeat it. I'm just going to repeat it in the beginning. I'm just going to repeat this, what I said earlier, and then we'll move on to alternative plans following on that point on Baliba and such, is that we have not yet had the indication that he's chosen us. We've not yet agreed personal terms. We've not yet agreed agent fees. We're wary of getting in a situation where we end up just paying a ton and keep bidding up on the fees and things like that. The costs are a lot. The fees factor in the personal terms, the wages, the agent fees requested definitely factor in the bid. We don't want to. We also don't want to just keep bidding in ourselves. There's the complication over whether we could include a player or not, but we'd want to have certainty that he chose us. So look, it's just we're approaching this fine. We're approaching it right. We want to have certainty from the player and certainty on the costs without making the bid. And that's it. Now, at the same time, we have not ruled out our alternative plans. One, we haven't ruled out we haven't ruled out returning back to other striker targets. For some reason, people seem to get the idea that we have, but we never said we wouldn't potentially return to other striker targets that we were looking at before, okay? We could go back for Ollie Watkins, considering that situation. There's other things we can do if we miss out on Šeško. I will continue to maintain this because it's not a certain deal yet, even though I would still lean towards it's happening, but I'm still a bit 50-50. We can and will move on to other players, and including potentially back to Watkins, should this not go through. There's other potentials here. There's some talk that Aston Villa are interested in making a move for Nicholas Jackson. That might free up a route for Ollie Watkins to leave, should they be able to get a younger striker in. They've still made fuck all signings this summer and still need to sell in order to likely do more business. So yeah, there's alternative plans in place that are being looked at. In addition, there's alternative plans that maybe have us spend less on a striker and more on a midfielder. That's also always been kind of on the table. That's always been on the table as something we could do. I mentioned that in the last case. This is where someone like Kolo Muani could come into play. Yes. Where could we go to a cheaper deal or something like that, and then move for a midfielder? Now, it's not just like Baliba as like our only potential midfielder. There are certainly potentially other players that we could look at, in the market. There's certainly others. We just don't know the names of who they are. I'm ever so slightly intrigued. I don't think there's substance in it at the moment, but I am ever so slightly intrigued that at Hayden Hackney turning down that Ipswich move, simply because we have watched him. We have watched him. We have scouted him. When we have at times held an interest in him. I don't know what happened, why he turned down Ipswich. I have no fucking clue. Pardon my language, but I just don't know. I don't know what happened with that and why. But apparently he did. I don't know. So one could guess and link them, and that would be a pure guess. There's nothing I've heard of substance to claim that we would be going for him. Beyond the more expensive options like a Baliba, we don't. And Ederson was somebody we were 100% solid target, very interested in going into the summer. Said it for months. I'm certain of that being the case. Whether we're still interested, I'm not 100% positive on that. But we certainly were, and he hasn't moved anywhere, and he didn't go to Saudi. Could we go back in for him? Maybe. Don't know. I just don't know. I don't think anybody does. We do not have solid names on midfielder targets beyond the dream, all right, of somebody there. So we're just going to have to wait and guess on that. We do know there's targets we did have, and whether we could return to those would be a question that I have at this point in time. But we've not yet made a move on any of those as of yet. And what I'm trying to do in continuing to mention this as well is properly interpret United's position in the market, okay? Because I'm trying to properly interpret United's position in the market and what they're willing to do here. Because, for example, when I heard Watkins was the guy, I was like, yeah, I think we'll sign Watkins. I don't think we'll get Šeško. Simply because my interpretation of the information was based on past patterns, which is we prioritize a player, we look to a player, we bid up until we're ready to buy that player. Well, we looked for Watkins, we didn't get him at the price we wanted, and we shifted. I'm surprised by that because that's not how we've operated for such a long time. So I'm trying to be smarter about my interpretation of the information, and in that interpretation, all of these plans remain on the table. I think we are willing to shift to different plans and things like that, and there are multiple plans. There's a report out of Spain talking about Fermin Lopez. I have no idea if that's true at the moment. We did look to him at one point, and maybe it was 12 months ago. I don't know. We did, though. Does that mean that report is true? No clue. But we did look at Fermin Lopez at one point and propose, I believe, a swap deal a year ago for somebody. And I can't remember what we did, but we did propose a deal for Fermin Lopez. I have no idea if he would fit or if we're still interested now. We did in the past look at him. So it just kind of, when it got sent, it just kind of popped on my radar as like, I don't know. I'll keep an eye on that one. I'm just discussing possibilities here, not nothing of substance, just based on past interests and things like that. So yeah, there you go. Let's see. That's it. I think that about tears it. Yeah, there's stuff about like Casado. I don't know, man. There's a bunch of random names. It's really, really hard to put any of that in to the right context at this point in time. Chris Leeler would like to stay at least for this season. I told you that yesterday. I told you guys yesterday, by the way, very, very clearly that Bruno was not going to leave, and that the commitment is perhaps just a year long at this point in time. Okay, I told you that yesterday, so no credit, but yeah, I did tell you that yesterday. Bruno's not going anywhere. He's not leaving this summer, but there is a potential next summer. Certainly this year he's committed. Could be next summer though, and there could be this succession plan playing out before our eyes. So we'll see on that. I don't think that he's 100% committed beyond a year, but I shared this exact story yesterday. So yeah, I'll try to find it in a clips. If anybody has a clip of it, find it. You can DM it to me on Twitter so I can share it. But I did share that story yesterday, that exact thing. Anyway, let's end it here. Thank you all. I will see you later. Let's see how this Šeško thing progresses. I think United, either way, are playing it right at the moment. I've got my concerns about the player, got my concerns about the cost, but so be it. We'll see. I've got more faith in the team turning young players into solid players than I did before. But, I still have those concerns either way, but that's okay. Let's see what happens in the next day or two. I do think, said this before, I don't want to see this decision thing drag. It frustrates me, and I don't think it's right. I get very weird about it. When players drag these decisions out for multiple days, I'm not a fan. It always feels like something's off to me when that happens, and I think we always end up losing when that happens. In the situations I can remember, there was things like
in UK, home of
visit
hats.
Stockport when you're in UK, home of hats. Okay. There was things like Kamavinga, where there was like decisions that went on, and then he went somewhere else. And there was things like, I don't know, De Jong. Like, there's just things that have happened I don't love about these guys who take a lot of time making the decision when it gets so public like this, like with the lap and others. I feel like it always goes wrong. We didn't get this drawn out sagas for Mbeumo and Cunha and guys like that. You know, we it took a bit on Lenny Yoro, but it wasn't even a decision. He was waiting for Madrid to bid. It was a fact. We just forced the issue and said it's now or never, and Madrid were being slow, and it worked. It wasn't even like that. So I don't know. There's just something I really hope it gets decided soon. Euro took time, but it was different. It was a different setup. Anyway, thank you all. I'll see you later. Have a good rest of your day, everybody.